What's up, guys? Well, we are back for another edition of the Georgia State Previews. We're doing 5A today. And by this point in time, I think somebody probably has watched at least 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, unless you're just a 5A fan and you're just here for that. But we've broken down 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A up to this point. And it's been a lot of fun. Some interesting takes by Lucas De Silva, but what do we expect? Of course, they're going to be interesting takes by Lucas De Silva.
You're always going to have the weird ones from me.
You're darn right. You're darn right. And you know what? We love the conversations of people dropping us a text to tell us why somebody got DQ'd or why something like this happened or all these different things. So, you know what? It's a lot of fun. Honestly, it's going to be a great weekend. And we are doing Class 5A, which has got to be probably one of the most popcorn friendly classes in Macon.
This is one of my favorite class, and this, whether it was 6A last year or now this year it being 5A, this group of schools to me is always the most interesting. Because you get a weird but fun mix of the southern schools. You get the not privates per se, but you get some of the bigger, well-funded schools. It's a hoot from top to bottom.
Yeah, well, and honestly, Creekview, I mean, if you look back to the last 3 years of state duels, South Effingham, won two in a row, but didn't win by much. I mean, they were tight, really good duels. This year, Creekview knocks off South Effingham and then knocks off Glen Academy. But again, we're down to like the last match to determine what happens. And I mean, that may not be how it plays out in Macon, but I'll tell you what, there's a lot of teams that can have different individuals on top of the podium, and it really could come down to some depth and who puts the most placers on the podium, not necessarily the most champs, in my opinion.
Completely agree. I think this is one of those brackets where really anything can happen.
The other thing that's really interesting is that there are only three returning state champs in 5A. That's it.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And honestly, two of them probably are going to have a tough time necessarily. I mean, I wouldn't say they're going to lose. I'm not saying that at all, but two of them are going to have to really battle to earn another state title. The other one, I don't want to throw it out there and say that Robbie DeHaven is, just going to go in and, just hang out for the weekend. But the truth is,
But,
he
but,
is he's
but
he's pretty good at 165 pounds, and I don't know that anybody's going to take that away from him, if you know what I mean.
completely. I think we're in alignment on that one.
All right. Before we jump to those, I want to do a real quick shout out to the tournament sponsors. There are a number of different individuals who step up and actually contribute with money, time, effort, everything else, in terms of helping out everything that's happening. I'm dropping fans guides, hopefully later today for 1A through 4A, and hopefully 5A, 6A, and the girls tomorrow. In that, you'll notice that there are several names of the sponsors. Takedown, which is very well known here in the state of Georgia. You got Level Up Wrestling Center with Donovan Pannone and that crew up there who has been doing. They contributed and put forth their, I guess, money, effort, time, that sort of thing to sponsor the state tournament. And then we have others, commercial real estate with Maximus Management. We got Certified Finishes, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Bambinelli's Pizza and Pasta. Shout out to Amber Cloy with photography, and we're gonna have several different individuals who are gonna be on the floor taking lots of different pictures, which I hope will get uploaded. And you know what? I hope that there's a lot of people who will be able to go and download a bunch of different pictures from the state tournament. So, all right.
Agreed.
As we jump into 5A, and we begin at 106 pounds, where we have two returning state placers down at sixth, but also as a returning state runner-up in Christopher Hardiman from South Effingham. But what's interesting about that is Hardiman didn't win his section. So, that to me means that 106 could be darts and popcorn, but you're going to tell me if you agree or not.
There's certainly some popcorn being made. I could smell the butter and the salt going into this weekend. 106, as per usual in most classifications, tells to be a treat. And you have the great mix of youth and a couple of seniors in this bracket as well, and a guy like a Jason Dixon, which is uncommon. For those that are going to question my picks, let me make something clear. My dark horse, if you look, I'm going to try to stay off guys that are on the 1 or 2 line. Had a couple people already hit me up about some of those. And then champs, I'm going to make my picks. I really like Kyler Keegley. He seems to have really taken a step going into this year. Obviously winning the section, and doing it, funnily enough, after getting third in the region, losing to Dixon by getting stuck by Dixon for that matter, goes to sections and wins. I think this is a really interesting situation. Give me Keegley. Give me Keegley to beat Hardiman in the finals. I think he gets the job done. And as my dark horse, we talk about the team race. Give me Jack Corey from Creekview. I think he's going to be super important for their title hopes.
Nice. Okay. I'm going to throw out a name, Jason Davis from Lakeside Evans, who was returning
Mhm.
third placer, is another one that you might watch as a dark horse. One of the things that I kind of look at when I'm thinking about it is by Keegley winning his section, that puts Hardiman and McGilligot on the same side of the bracket. That means one of them is going to have to, they have to worry about their quarters and their first round matches first, but they are going to have to battle likely to get to him who's sitting on the other side of the bracket. Now, I've actually gone back through some of these, and Rylan Aston from Chattahoochee, who I lost to McGillicott, I think in the finals in section, actually has I think a tech win over McGillicott. So this is what we get at 106 pounds here. I don't know what's going to happen. Who is on, and that's an important factor. Who is on when you walk into Macon can actually determine what happens.
Oh, I think it absolutely can. Whoever has their day, that that will change from person to person. You never know who's going to have their day.
Yeah. All right, moving to 113 pounds. Cole Warren won his section. He was third a year ago. You also have Tariq Bailey from South Effingham who won his section. But he is a freshman. So that's interesting to see a freshman in there and a senior in Cole Warren. One person's first time here, one person's last time here. And, you have a bunch of others in the group, state qualifiers and returning state placers. But again, this is a weight that I don't know that there's a clear-cut favorite when we look at the bracket.
I'm probably with you where there's not a clear-cut favorite. Both Warren and Bailey are guys that I've recruited to be on my Scrappy teams. I really like both these guys in different reasons. Warren, you're going to get a super, and by tight, I mean he's well trained. He's super good at the little things. Very well trained, obviously. Da 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 da. You get Tariq Bailey, same thing, but a little bit more dynamic. Can really attack you from anywhere. Give me Bailey over Warren in the final. I have this feeling about it. Call me crazy. I really like Tariq Bailey. I'm super high on him. And as the dark horse, not to say that most of my dark horses in 5A are team race contenders, but it does matter. Ryan Sanders from Brunswick in that spot as a sophomore. If he gets past his first round, his drop is somewhat favorable. I see him getting on the podium.
I I like the fact that you do fold back in the team race into the conversation because especially when somebody takes a loss, there are conversations in the team race when you've got 8, 9 guys with you and you're sitting there having the conversation heading into the Conti going, look, we want you to make the podium. I know your goal was to win a state title, but we need you. We need you to fight through. We need this win. And when other people are relying on you, it's maybe you fight a little bit harder. Maybe you kind of give a little bit more than the person who's there as a single or just with one other person and the team race doesn't really matter and you've already taken that loss. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. You know what I mean?
No, I think you're right on that.
All right. So we moved to 120 pounds. And we get, I think this is potentially a rematch of last year's state final. I believe Isaac Hoshide of Lasser beat Tyler Harrington by a point, if my memory serves. Herring, I think, dominated the sectional. Anyway, Isaac Hoshide is the returning state champion. Herring is a returning state runner-up. Dominic Thompson won that section B. And you've got a number of other individuals in the weight class that I think it's a really, really fun weight to watch. But those are the two names that kind of like jump out at me.
Well, I agree with you there. Herring and Hochschild made the finals to me. Man, I look at Tyler Herring's run this year, and it's you look down his list of wins. It's really, really impressive. He kept Hochschild in the sectional final in seemingly dominant fashion. I don't know his one loss on the year. That is something that I wish I did know, but I just don't. I point being, I'm gonna go with Herring over Hotshot in the finals. I think he rights old wrongs. And in terms of my dark horse, Mason Young at a South Effingham, 56-7 on the year, the sophomore, super impressive. Don't be surprised if you see him make the semifinal, where I would have Herring drop to him, but I could see that one being important for South Effingham.
Him drop to Herring, yeah, I'm with you. I haven't watched. I think I've watched Tyler Russell one time this year, but I remember him walking off the mat after that state final, and it just looks like he immediately put a chip on his shoulder and said, like, that's not going to happen again. And I mean, it hasn't so far. You got 4 more matches, right? All right, so moving to 126, we got 2 returning state placers and Emilio Santana of South Effingham, who also was a state runner-up. Ty Warren, who took, I think, no, he was 4th last year Ty Warren from Creekview was 4th. Logan Robinson, I think, beat him in the sectional. A lot of returning state qualifiers in this group. I like Santana. I like Robinson. I like Warren. Who's somebody not named those 3 that you see as a dark horse that might be kind of pushing on that?
I see a dark horse, but what if I told you I had someone not in that 3 making the state final?
All right. Who is it? Is he
well, first, Harbin Bruce out of Glen Academy. He sits in a good spot in the bracket. I see him dropping in the quarters, but then his drop is favorable down in that 3 spot. I think he'll get through to get to the podium. There's a guy that I've been really high on all year and has impressed me all year with some of his wins, and my matrix is high on him. I will admit, come state season, I usually am more willing to put an eye test, but I'll admit, I haven't been to as many tournaments this year. So my eye test is a little flawed this year. I'll be very open about that.
He's not wearing his glasses. You can see.
Yeah, that too.
There you go.
Give me Preston Duffy at Alexander to knock off Logan Robinson in the semifinals, get to the state finals, or I have him dropping to Ty Warren.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll see if
By
that's
the
right.
way, shout outs Emilio Santana and Logan Robinson. Both them are hammers. Please keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. You know, they're going to be pissed at me anyways.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. These are picks. And with that,
I don't
with
care.
that thing, these are picks. I
I don't
mean,
care.
we don't determine anything. So you know what? You guys determine whether we're right or wrong. All right. Moving to 132 pounds. And this is another one of the returning state champions. Clayton Hicks has been absolutely unbelievable this year. You've got some really good wrestlers in the weight. Alara Gibson of South Effingham is a returning state placer. But I know Carter Brickley has circled this and said, this is my final opportunity. Lost to Tanner Spalding last year in the state finals. He looks primed and ready to make a run. I don't know. Defending state champion sitting right there. What happens at 132?
So Clayton Hicks is a guy I've got to have a little bit of time with when I went down south. I think the year before last. And I mean, he wrestles as advertised. The dude can bang. I'm gonna pick him to win the state title. Give me him to meet Alaric Gibson in the finals. I think Gibson gets past Brickley. I don't know why. I just like that matchup. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And then give me John Badini from South Paulding. 30-13 might scare some people away, but South Paulding in their program, I've talked about this in a couple of our episodes. Programs that seemingly coach guys up, and there's always one or two from each team that maybe they're a six spot out of the sectional, and maybe they get to the blood rounds. Maybe they make a run to the semis. I just see Bedini as maybe one of those guys.
Well, I'll tell you what, he better be one of those guys, otherwise he's gonna have to make a march back through very early because he gets a tough Brock Salas from Creekview right off the
Mhm.
scale. So you
Both
better be
those
ready to
guys to me are
go.
going to place. Both him and Salas to me are placing.
All right. We moved to 138 pounds and another state runner-up. This is probably a theme here in 5A with not many state champions returning, but we have a number of different state runners-up who are all looking to finish their careers with a title. You've got Phil Catino, Jefferson Catino. I don't know which one's actually the original or the actual first name. Brian Cates from Coffee are both your section champs. You got Toby Jarosevic from Jackson County, who's a returning state placer. A lot of different individuals here. Somebody who hasn't won a state title will win a state title at 138 pounds. Who is it?
I'm thinking it is going to be Coutinho. I think he gets the job done. I think he does it over Cates. And give me
Yeah, Jerosi? I don't know.
Jiroshevi, perhaps. I'd butcher that name every year. Give me him as my dark horse. I really like that kid. And Jacks County, well coached, going to be ready to answer the bell. I think, not to say that's an easy one, but I think that plays out pretty simply to me.
All right, moving to 144 pounds, another weight. Several different returning state placers at the weight. Not a single one who has actually been to the state finals. Jonathan Fogus from Rome, third last year. Arthur Reed from Coffee, third last year. Caleb Cooper, fourth last year. Kevin Poitras from Effingham County, sixth last year. You got Aaron Campbell from Creekview as a state returning state qualifier. Dean Rollins is a returning state qualifier. I mean, there's a couple things to consider here. I don't know that any of them have ever been to a state final before. So who comes in confident and doesn't allow the moment to get too big? You know what I mean? You've never been to the state finals before. Who's going to be able to handle all that?
And that's a big thing, man, especially to the guys that have never been to a state final. So let me kind of give you. I have a dark horse, but I have someone else to watch. To me, the dark horse is Joe Fuel. In that bottom quarter, he's from Brunswick. only a sophomore, 50 and 17 on the year. Looks really solid. Cullen Applegate,
Hmm.
freshman. You look at that 30 and 18 record, and you might, lift your nose at him. But look at some of his losses. They're not bad losses because again, they go to some fantastic tournaments every year. His losses, some of them are at the Grappler, they're at the CIT, it's at Metro, it's at these events where some of the best come together every year. So don't be surprised if Woodward Academy does what Woodward Academy does and Colin Applegate wrestles above his seed. In terms of finish, there's a club going around now, and there's rumors and whispers of out west the Coliseum and that they're doing some big things out there. And I think, and Jonathan Fogus, if I'm not mistaken, is a trainee there, someone that works out with that crew. Give me Fogus over Cooper in the final.
All right. All right. Moving to 150 pounds, just one returning state placer, but somebody who who just to me has looked absolutely on this year, and that is AJ Waters of Glen Academy. You've got Caleb McGlamry from Houston County in there. You got Braden Bringer. For those of you that don't know Braden, it's Bear Bringer, I believe. That's what he goes by. You got Noah Anderson from Lee County. You got some other good individuals there. But I'll tell you what, and just so you know, if you were looking back, I think Tristan Paris, this has now been updated, who was a returning state placer from Sequoia, has been taken out of the bracket now. If I'm looking at the bracket real quick.
Yes, and I believe it was a injury that has put him out, at least as far as my understanding.
So, anyway, all that to say, Waters has looked absolutely fantastic. For me, he's the favorite, but I leave you to make the picks. So, what do you think?
Waters is my pick to win it. I mean, you look at just the resume this year, it's very impressive. Even, and I know this isn't going to matter to a lot of people, but if you look at what he did at Poseidon earlier in this past spring, and that was when I first got onto him, he loses to Michael Sutter from Spec Ops, which you say what you want. He loses to Lendon out of Florida, but some of his wins were really good. That was when I first kind of got onto him. Then you look at him in the season, super dominant. Give me Waters to win it. Give me Samaj Dobbins from Brunswick out of the 3 spot. He lost to Bringer 2-1 in the area. Give me Dobbins to knock off Bringer and knock off McGlamry, get to the state finals. I think Waters is a little too much for him. In terms of my dark horse, give me Pritchett from Creekview. I know he's in a spot. And I know that, he's probably going to drop in the quarters. He's wrestling Padilla, who by no means is an easy first round out, but I think he could get through.
All right. So, the only question I have is, did Coach Bartolota get to you? Because you're naming a lot of Brunswick boys.
Well, Bartolota is at Pierce now, but
Is he at Pierce?
yeah.
Oh, my fault. My fault. I thought, hang on, is he the head coach at Pierce or is it Insulaco? Is it the head coach at Pierce?
It isn't Sulaco. My mistake. You're right. I complete. Oh
But
God,
I was right.
Pierce wears my gear too. Oh, I'm gonna get blamed for that. Oh,
I was going to say, I was like, I thought he was
no,
still
I'm
at
an idiot.
Brunswick.
No, that's on me. Oh my. Okay.
Well, there you
I can't
go.
believe I did that.
Okay, moving on. 157 pounds. Another individual who just like Waters in the weight class above or weight class below, excuse me, has just looked absolutely fantastic. I'm a big fan of returning state runner-up Moose Bringer, Brandon Bringer for that's on the thing or on the bracket. That's his name. So but you got a returning section champion in Weston Wilkie from Creekview. Anyone who's been associated with wrestling in the state of Georgia for a long time, you will know the name of Wilkie. Definitely has the pedigree and the background and that sort of thing. You got Jack Matthew from Greenbrier, Roman Ochoa from Alexander, Cooper Martin from Lanier. Several good individuals here. I just look at Brandon Moose Springer and I just see somebody who is primed to finish his career on the top step.
I agree. That's what I have. Brandon Bringer. What is his name?
Well, he goes by Moose.
I love it. I love South Effingham. This is one of the many things I love about that school. They're so fun. Like as a
Moose
whole,
and Bear
they're
Bringer.
fun people. Like where did I see them? There was a tournament a year. It might have been Freestyle and Greco State last year. I hung out with some of them and just cool cats. The whole crew. So shout out to South Effingham. I'm giving Bringer the title.
They're a fun group. There's no doubt about it.
I'm gonna let my biases maybe take this one because my matrix has Wilkie and Matthew. It's a close match. Jack Matthew has worked his ass off this season. Really been one of the driving forces for this Greenbrier team. With in terms of they've lost a lot of guys this past year from graduation. They were looking for someone to step up. Matthew has been one of those guys to step up for them. I think Matthew gets to the finals. I think he knocks off Wilkie, but I think Moose is going to be too much for him in the finals. And give me Roman Ochoa at Alexander. He's my dark horse. I think he'll drop to Matthew in the semis, but then you look at his backside drop. It's not. It's very doable.
Yeah. No, actually, you said semis, but it is the quarters, and I will say that is actually a fantastic.
I didn't mean semis. Yeah, you're right.
That's a fantastic quarterfinal matchup right there. It really is. All right, jumping 265 pounds. I'm going to give some shout outs to a lot of other individuals, but the truth is, Robbie DeHaven, if you don't know Robbie, he's just a really great person. I really like just talking to
Hell
Robbie.
of a dude. Hell of a dude.
Really smart, head to Harvard. Also one hell of a wrestler. Will be wrestling at Harvard for the Crimson. Besides Robbie DeHaven, because we can spend some time talking about him, but besides him, who are some other names in the bracket that people should kind of keep an eye on?
There's actually a couple. This bracket is very interesting. Just going from top to bottom. You have a guy in Pierre Louis out of Gainesville who's a senior, 30-8 on the year. All of his losses are good. So he's not someone that those 8 losses is a negative. It's almost a positive. Lau, of course, sister of Marignola Lau. I think that's how you say that name. I butcher it all the time. Shout out to that family.
His sister's a returning state champion. Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's a hammer. I picked her. There's a reason I picked her. Whitney out of Houston. Shout out Houston County, Houston County. Shout out to them. I don't care. It's Houston. You don't choose how English works. You don't. English works one. Whatever. Point being, Dalen Maxwell out of Jax. Riley Atkins out of South Effingham. Again, the 28-20 record might scare you, but again, South Effingham seen some of the best competition this year in the Southeast. Give me DeHaven over Maxwell and give me freshman Lau as my dark horse. I think might just say he gets to the semis. You catch me on the right day and I'm feeling kind of froggy, I might pick him to make a run to the semis.
All right.
That kid is tough. That kid is tough. So I always like a kid that maybe got a little chip on his shoulder. So I'm with it.
Well, and I think he's the only freshman in the bracket. And you know what? I love a freshman at 165 pounds and see what they can do. You know what I mean?
Wow. Show him something, kid. We'll get you on the podium.
175 pounds. This is a fun weight. You've got Caleb Cross from Glen Academy as one of the sections champs. You got William Childs from Gainesville who wrestled, I think, at Pope last year. I think he was a state placer for Pope last year. Lucas Hayes is a returning state runner-up. Ronan Sims, Costin Ryan, Wright from Creekview. You got a bunch of other individuals. This is actually a weight that that could be a really important one for the team race because I think there's a number of different individuals who could be in the hunt here, who could really get some significant points for the team.
Completely agree. This is one of the tougher ones for me to pick. Um, I'm gonna start with my dark horse. One guy that my matrix is really high on is Joseph Patry from McIntosh. 30-7 on the year. Again, 7 losses could be looked at a type of way, but if you look at the losses he's taken, I mean, I'm looking at his thing. It's not horrible losses. Some of them are out of state guys. I mean, AJ Stone. I mean, and then he has a couple of medical forfeit losses as well. So Patry and Bobby Cron is another guy to mention for South Effingham. He'll be huge for them if he can get on the podium. But I always like picking guys in that in the I'm losing my mind for a second. Sorry. In the 3 spot. I really like Coastin Wright. I really do. And I think that quarter's favorable. I think he gets through that quarter. Caleb Cross is a dog. Give me Coastin Wright to get to the finals. But I really like William Childs, man. I just do. Give me William Childs to get the win in the state finals for Gainesville over Coastin Wright, and Patry is my dark horse.
All right. All right. I like that. I think Childs is probably the favorite, but yeah, it's gonna be an interesting weight, definitely. All right, moving to 190 pounds. We have a returning state runner-up in Jackson Waters from Noonan. Nazir Braxton from Decatur is the other sectional champ. You got Mendoza from Jackson County. Again, a few other names in here that I think can surprise some people. You got a young Chandler Bell, who I think was the younger brother of Christian Bell at Woodward
I do
Academy.
believe so.
So you got a couple of different names in here. Waters is your returning state runner-up. He looks like he's poised after making a run to the Section B title a week ago. But I defer to you. How do you see how do you see 190 playing?
I'm going to take Waters to win it. I think he gets back to the finals and rights old wrongs. Give me Bennett Sams from Glenn to get there to meet him, though. I think he knocks off Mendoza, and I could see that Velardes Braxton possible quarterfinal being a hoot. So don't be surprised if you see Braxton and Velardes have a great one. Give me Samzo to get through. And then I'm going to take a bit of an odd one for my dark horse. A couple of years ago, or a year or so ago, I did my training, I guess you'd say, run Fat and Scrappy at Seckinger High School, where I met a young Zachariah Walker. And I like that kid a lot. Junior on the year, 36-12. A lot of his losses are close, even to some of these guys in the bracket. I think Waters could get through Phillips, and then that drop at 52.07 is not a horrible drop. I think he gets through and gets on the podium.
All right. Well, that'll be interesting because Phillips is a returning state qualifier, so you have to beat one of them and somebody who's already been there before. All right. Moving to 215 pounds. Really wide, I mean, I would say wide open weight class. But I don't know that it's hugely wide open. The reason I say it's wide open is because there's only 3 in the weight who've actually been or wrestled in Macon a year ago. But few have looked as good as returning state placer Jackson Locke of Creekview.
Agreed.
So do you see the 2 section champs kind of colliding in the finals here, or do you see somebody else?
So I do as well, and I think the two sections are pretty think
Hang on, hang on. It wasn't matching, so I wanted to make sure you start again. Go ahead. Go. I can't hear you. I don't know. It's not catching. I wonder if it's just me or what.
Uh,
There you go. That's good.
oh, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go.
sweet. So I think the two section champs get there. I think we'll see Locke and Stuckey between them only having one loss. They both have wrestled some great competition. I will say, if Jackson Locke doesn't get there, the most mad person in the building is going to be his girlfriend.
No doubt.
If you were there at Elite Eight, you know what I'm referencing. Shout out to her; she's awesome. That's called support. I have a beautiful girlfriend that does the same. If you've seen me anywhere, you've probably seen Ansley along with me. Um, Give me Locke over Stuckey in the finals, and then give me Caden Williams from Greenbrier as the dark horse.
All right. Caden Williams. All right. Why Caden Williams? Just a favorable draw or?
I think his draw is pretty damn nice. And honestly, having the relationship I do with the Greenbrier program, I see a lot of their training and I also know them. So I've seen him go from a kid that, you know, I don't know if I'd pick to make a state tournament, 3, 4 years ago. And now you look at him, he's super tough in all facets of the game.
All right, moving to 285, and what we have basically is your two section champs are both returning state placers. Austin Presley from Villa Rica is third. Weston Bryan was from Lee County was sixth a year ago. Everyone else, I believe, is new to the state tournament. So man, I mean, talk about being new to the state tournament and handling Macon and all the mats and all the whistles and everything else that's going on. Who knows how everybody's going to perform? I think we know that Presley and Bryan, both who have been here before, are going to wrestle their best.
Yeah, I think that's not to say an obvious, but I think that that's probably what you say. Give me Bryan over Presley in the final,
All right.
and then give me Crosby Alderman from Brunswick as the dark horse.
Okay. One of the things that I want to mention very quickly before we move away from 285, and that is, the last 2 years, I think, South Effingham's heavyweight has won the state title, and he graduated. And now they have a South Effingham heavyweight who's a sophomore who was second in the sectionals, lost 4-2 in the sectional finals, and his name is Kevin Steptoe. And when somebody sits behind someone who has been at that level, it will be really interesting. I don't know how he's going to handle Macon and the big stage and everything else, but
Well, I was this close to
he's got
picking
push.
Steptoe. You could convince me in 20 seconds to pick Steptoe. You could convince me very quickly. That kid is a dog.
All right. All right, so as we have now finished 5A, let's jump to the teams. I'm really interested in how you think the team race is playing out. I've heard you, you've talked Jackson County, you've talked Creekview, you've talked Brunswick, you've talked South Effingham, you've talked Glen Academy. I know you picked like state champs from, I think, each of those teams, or at least, you mentioned them in the finals and that sort of thing. But none of those seem to stand out as being head and shoulders over any other team. So give me your countdown of your 5-1.
I mean, Jackson County in fifth. Man, this top four is so tough. It's really the top four to me that it gets tricky. Yeah, give me Jackson County 5. Give me Glen in fourth. Give me Brunswick in third. Give me Creekview second. Give me the Mustangs of South Effingham to win the state title. Now, here's the thing. Between those teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Between those teams, 10 of my dark horses are picked between those 5 teams. So there's a lot that comes down to if these dark horses go through. If they don't, it changes everything. Because I do think this is going to be a class where each of the teams that really are in the hunt probably win 2, 3, maybe 4 titles max. And then it comes down to placers on the backside of the bracket. This isn't a year where a couple years back, I remember Woodward won like 5. And it was like, okay, ball game. I don't think that's this year. I think this year is everybody kind of wins 2 or 3, and then it's how many people you put through the backside.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is 5A. Lucas, I appreciate you jumping on with me, and man, that is going to be the class that I think everybody will want to sit down and kind of watch that team race and see how it plays out. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Agreed.
All right, man, you take care, and I will talk to you later.
All right, man. Peace.